record. You are now live.
Well, look at that. Oh, hey, everybody. Welcome. We're here back again to the Mandalorian Aftershow here on JLJ Media. I'm just one of your meager, sub guest hosts, Frank Moran, or as they like to call me on the intergalactic spaceways, Luke Blabbermouth, Blab Talker. That's my mouth. Blab Talker. That's who I am. Joined as always by our resident hunk here on the Mandalorian Aftershow, John Dunphy.
Hello.
Look at that. And of course, our esteemed founder, our esteemed leader, our esteemed host, James Ladd Jr. Is here in spirit, but he is busy with other activities that require his time and hasn't been able to fully focus on the Mandalorian, unfortunately. So John and I are going to take you through a recap and our thoughts and feelings, and we'll have a good time. But as always, folks, make sure you're following JLJ Media on all the social media handles to keep up with all the latest and greatest stuff that's happening in the JLJ Media universe. There we go. John, as we get ready to break in season 3, episode 5, chapter 21, The Pirate. What did you think overall?
I had so much fun watching this episode, honestly. I just thought it was great. I really enjoyed it. There were some surprises in there. Like the live action debut of one Garazeb Aurelius from Star Wars Rebels. So to see, an animated character that I know from Rebels come to life in live action, and he looked great. And then the whole thing with the pirates, I felt like the action was great. And I feel like, I know some people have felt like this season is slow, but I felt like it kept up with the pace where it was like, we get the pirates and it's wrapped up in one episode. It's not going to drag in now to another episode or whatever. I feel like we're kind of moving along through the season and things are just, they're happening. I had so much fun. I can't wait to talk about this episode.
Yeah, that's true. I mean, I guess by the time we end this episode, our pirate contingent is pretty much non-existent, except for one lone guy that decides the discretion is the better part of valor. I'm going to be out of here. Yeah. But I agree with you. Seeing, as we all know, I have not watched Rebels yet, even though I know you rave about that series. But I definitely, seen the character designs and know who the characters are. And so when I saw Zeb come on for a second, I was like, wait a minute, that he did look really cool. And so if he shows up in Ahsoka, I'm excited to see that. I think he's a great translation from cartoon to live action. Yeah,
it's funny because I feel like you've heard so many complaints about whether it's Ahsoka and the tendrils not being long enough, or the Inquisitors don't look exactly the way they do in animation, or any of those characters that have shown up in animation and then come transferred over to live action. That stuff doesn't really bother me. I don't really nitpick that stuff. Like, I still appreciate seeing the character in live action and think it's really cool. But I will say Zeb, I think, has looked the best of any of the animation characters that have moved over to live action. So it was really exciting for me. And just hearing the same voice actor, Stephen Blum, playing Zeb in this show also was really, really great. So, yeah.
I mean, I guess that's the thing too, especially with Lucasfilm. I mean, they've got Industrial Lights and Magic. I mean, that's their headquarters. I mean, that's their art research and development as well as a production unit. So if you think of like Cad Bane, even from Book of Boba Fett,
right,
and look at him, even though there was makeup involved with that too, but seeing where we've come from that to what we can get now with Zeb on this season of Mandalorian, to what we could see in Ahsoka or future seasons of the Mandalorian or Skeleton Crew, whatever that might be. I just think as they get better realizing these cartoon characters in live action, I think it's the fans are only going to be more excited about the actual look of these characters in live action.
Yeah, 100%. I agree. 100%.
So this show, we got a couple different plot lines kind of running around, but they all center around pirates. We've got the pirates.
This felt like, I feel like we always talk about like these, episode titles or chapter titles having like dual meanings. It's like, no, this is just the pirate. We all know what we're talking about here.
Yeah, there was no doubt. You didn't need to bother me with all that stuff on the previously on. I don't know if you're calling it the pirate, I'm with you on what this is going to be. But we head back to Navarro. and we see, Krieg doing his best trying to keep that. Well, I think filled in with just like the not fun urban planning of a community. Like, let's see, we got to have this area closer to the port. Boy, it's like when you're like when you get that promotion, you're like, hey, I'm like mayor or president or whatever it might be. That ever status. There's just also a lot of that, just like stuff that you don't really enjoy that comes as part of it.
Right. I loved. He was like, "Oh, what about the train spur? I told you we're gonna have a ton of cargo coming through here." It's like, what is this? What are we watching right now? It's like a town hall meeting. Like
exactly. It's like, sure, you get a really awesome cape that you can have like little robots carry that around, but you also have to deal with just like minor, city logistics, which are like,
yeah. It's funny to see him in that role. Knowing where he came from, the guy handing out like bounties, like, oh, I've got a great one for you this time. I can only pay you in this squishy Moncala money, though. Now he's like the high magistrate.
I will give it to him though, because more often than not, I feel like the trope on that is that whoever you take somebody that has had like a past that's not really associated with government or leading people, and they're put in that position, more often than not, they're just like they're kind of clueless. And the people that work underneath them are like, oh, all right, don't you mean this instead? The right things. So it's cool that they're letting him like, he's kind of, he's, as far as we can tell, a good leader for these people.
Oh yeah, absolutely. It's like he just kind of stumbled into this role that he was meant for. He seems like he's a good leader because like he can get things done, but he also definitely, you can tell, cares about these people too. And I think like takes a lot of pride in the fact that he is the one now that like gets to lead them, and
it's I was done with like the making sure everybody realized it was, got to mention hi in his title. But I thought we were going to be done with that, but it reared its ugly head at the end of the episode. Ugh. At least it wasn't him saying it.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. Which almost made it worse, because at least you can laugh at him like trying to like puff himself up. But it was like, don't you mean hi?
But as they're doing all this planning, who decides to rain on his parade? And that's good old Grief Karga. He's like, he's got some issues with what went down on the last time that his pirates visited Navarro, along with his last encounter with Mando. It seems like he's really putting all that on Navarro's shoulders.
Yeah, gory and charred. It was good to see him again, but this felt like a very disproportionate response to these 4 random pirates that wanted to drink at a school.
Yeah, that's right. It's like, man, I really wanted to drink out of that school. Can we go back and just really decimate that city?
Yeah.
So they start raining fire on everybody, and everybody takes off. The amount of people that we saw making it out into the outlands outside the city did not seem as many as that as lived in that city. Didn't that seem right?
Right. It seemed like a very small group there.
I'm like, this is it? This is all in Navarro? There's got to be more people. And I guess we saw that one old guy still in Navarro that, comes out of the diner with his little plate of food.
Yeah. Yes. No, I actually did have that same thought. I was like, it seems like this must be a very small planet, like a very small planet.
So luckily though, we do get to see him using his head though. And he does fire off a message to Captain Teva. Or Teva.
Yeah, one of those.
Yes. Which is nice. I mean, that's kind of like a nice little background character that, we've seen Mando run into a couple times. So it was nice to see, see him come back in. And how'd you feel about seeing them return to that character?
I honestly really enjoyed this, because my feeling on this, I always knew the pirates were coming back, but I just assumed that this was going to be Grief somehow reaching out directly to Mando, Yeah. But you can see with all the Pershing stuff that we got in the previous episodes, and you can see that they're really trying to weave in this Mando story, sort of what all the failings of the New Republic were, and how we ended up with the First Order by the time the sequel trilogy was around. And I felt like this was a really nice way to do it, to have this X-wing pilot that's, you know, working for the New Republic that we are familiar with now, you know, trying to you know, he offered to help Grief in the past. Grief is now reaching out to try to get that help, and we still end up, as we go through the story, getting what we expected with Mando coming to help out. But like, this added a whole other element of the story that I felt like was really, really nice, getting to see some more of how the New Republic operates, what some of their shortcomings are, their failings are, and, you know, seeing Coruscant again. And just, I thought this was a really good way to go about doing this. I really like this.
Yeah, and initially I was like, well, why doesn't he just reach out to Mando? But then also thinking, like, he doesn't know that Mando's back with his clan. He doesn't realize that. He thinks he's probably just one man. So what is one man going to do against, you know, a whole ship and fleet of whole ship full of pirates with all their mini ships that are going around as well? So I can see why reaching out to the Republic would be like, yeah, this is probably the smarter play in terms of getting enough manpower to be able to stop these pirates.
Yeah.
So we do get to visit Coruscant, and because it's like, after he's told that, it's like, you're not going to get any answer now. They're so swamped with stuff.
Yeah,
it's like, well, they can't say no to me if I'm right there. So he goes there, and sure enough, we meet Tim Meadows, which lets you know that it's not going to go well. Like, when you saw Tim Meadows cast, did you already like, this is not going to be a good conversation?
That's exactly. Actually, I saw Tim Meadows and I was like, what's the ladies' man doing here? What is this? What's he doing? It was very funny. I didn't expect to get that cameo. Like, the shock hadn't worn off yet about, you know, the surprise of seeing Zeb just in the middle of this cantina, and now all of a sudden I got Tim Meadows' face on my TV screen. It's like, what is happening?
Yes. So that does not go over very well as he makes his case. But then, of course, we've got Moff Gideon's right-hand gal. She just happens, Elia Kane just happens to hear be in the right place at the wrong time to hear all this and start, chiming in her 2 cents. Oh, well, they're not really part of the Republic. Maybe that's why they should join.
Yeah, she seemed like, I felt like in her episode with Pershing, like, you could tell that she wasn't just trying to be his friend. Like, there was something, like, she was trying to do something, sneaky here or whatever. But she came off way more like sinister in this short little scene that she was in. She came off way more like sinister to me than she did in that episode, because it was like, it's the way, Carson Tev is there trying to plead this case. We have to help these people. We can't just leave them defenseless. And her just being like, well, sometimes, you have to show people what the value is of joining the New Republic. And it's like, well, by making them suffer, like, they're going to die. Like, they can't join the New Republic if they're dead. Like, and I just felt like, because Tim Meadows seems like a kind of guy that doesn't really want to think about things too much. So it's like, whoever's the last one to talk to him, it's like, yeah, sure. We'll do that. And it seemed like at first when Carson was talking to Tim Meadows, I don't remember what his character name was. So when he was talking to Tim Meadows like, yeah, you're right. We can't just leave them defenseless. We have to do something. And then she comes in and immediately it's like, but, well, they're really not a member. So, and it's like, well, okay. And then Tim Meadows like, all right, well, sorry, we can't do anything then. It's like, well, you were just agreeing with me. Now all of a sudden she comes in and says something and it's like, no, leave them to die. Sorry.
Yeah. I mean, that's, given what we know about where Moff Gideon is by the end of this episode, or at least where we think he may be, I'm still wondering what the relationship is between him and Kane. Like, is she? Because she seems like she definitely has nefarious purposes, being where she is. So I feel like is she colluding with Gideon somehow, or is she working with somebody else, or is she just there because she just hates the Republic and she just wants to cause trouble just to cause trouble?
Right. It was interesting to me, like, because one of Teva's whole arguments about how why we have to go to Navarro and help these people was like, this can't be a coincidence. People on Navarro reported seeing stormtroopers in the streets and TIE fighters flying overhead, and Moff Gideon being there, and then now this pirate is attacking. Like, this all has to be connected. And it's like, well, Elia Kane was working with Moff Gideon, so if it is connected, if Moff Gideon was the one sending these pirates to come and control Navarro, maybe it has some kind of strategic value being on this planet or something. Like, it makes sense if she's still working with Gideon, like, oh, I have to go in there and stop this, stop the New Republic from going there, or else they'll find out what I'm doing for Gideon or what Gideon's trying to do, whatever it is. So it really does make me feel more like Teva must be right. Must be onto something here. Something,
somebody sent all those bombers and TIE fighters to bomb Bo-Katan's palace. Yeah. So, I mean, I feel like whoever I could buy whoever is behind that could also be working with Elia Kane to, sabotage the New Republic from within.
Right. This whole, and it's funny because, the Republic, before the Jedi all fell in Order 66, it really kind of fell from within there too. And it feels like the same thing's happening now. And it's like, I was very much reminded of like in the Clone Wars, when it wasn't a Republic planet or a separatist planet, but it was a neutral planet, where something would happen. Fighting was breaking out. People were suffering. People were dying. And, maybe it was Obi-Wan or Anakin saying like, we have to do something to help these people. And then the Jedi Council being like, well, they're a neutral planet, so we can't get involved. It's like, this is the same thing that you did before. Like, it's all happening again.
Yeah. I don't know. There's part of me that's like, man, that was not thrilled with the way Star Wars told their whole entire saga, that it just kind of looped back into a second version of the Empire. But then given our what we're going through right now in life in general, there are definitely things repeating itself that you're like, really? This is coming back? This is coming back? Right. Come on, I thought we were better than this. No?
Yeah. And it makes sense that it would be so much easier and be such a short amount of time for the New Republic to fall, because it seems like they don't really have much to work with anyway. Like, they're not like an established government that's been around for a long time, that's very secure. They still have Imperial remnants running around, and they're still TIE fighters. There's still, all sorts of villains. Think about, we're talking about Gideon, we're talking about Thrawn. Who else? The Client was a pretty high-ranking ex-Imperial, you know what I mean? Like, there's still a heavy influence of the Empire, and it's like, it kind of makes sense that the New Republic would just kind of collapse pretty quickly when they can't really get their own act together. It feels like they're kind of a mess, and then you still have these Imperial remnants out there.
It's, I don't know. How do you feel about the New Republic being portrayed as sort of a mess? You figure they fought for so long to get this freedom from the Empire. So it just makes it feel like they only thought as far as freeing themselves of the Empire and didn't really give any thought to what they were going to do once they were free.
Right. It does feel like it kind of cheapens the heroism of the alliance that took down the Empire. Like, it does kind of feel like it cheapens it, especially when that at this point, right? Like, people like Mon Mothma and Leia are still doing their thing. I guess Leia, at this point, everybody's figured out that Darth Vader was her father, and she's become like disgraced. So we learned that from the sequels, right? But
yeah, but it's like, which I don't know if I could, I love that idea. It's like, yeah, but
I hate it.
She did plenty of stuff, guys. She did plenty of stuff to show you that she's not her daughter. She's not her dad.
Right. Yeah. It really kind of sucks, because it makes the whole ending of like the original trilogy feel a little more flimsy, and it's like, that shouldn't be. These are a legendary trilogy franchise. Like
not so fast, you guys. We're all suckers. It's like, Luke, you're gonna suck as a Jedi Master. Leia, everybody's gonna find out Darth Vader is your daddy, and nobody's gonna like you anymore. And you can't even keep your relationship with Han Solo keep going. It's all going to fall apart. Okay, great.
Yeah. When you think about this stuff, it really, really hurts. It really hurts a little bit.
Yeah. So with no luck there in Coruscant, yeah, the good captain, which I don't know exactly how this worked, but somehow thanks to R5D4, he's able to track his signal to where Mando and his clan have been hiding out of this planet. Uh, and when he lands, he goes, "Oh yeah, well, I have an old friend that's here." One, how did he even know about R5D4 being with Mando? Like, what he went? Did he go to Tatooine and check out and go like, "Hey, has anybody bought an astromech that may have been also in the Alliance?"
Yeah, no, you're right, and like I didn't really think anything of it at the time because I was just like, oh, look at that, R5 is still contributing, legacy character from the original trilogy finally getting his shine. But it's like, all right, it makes sense that you would find them through R5 only if you knew that they had R5. So yeah,
and we didn't see the captain doing any sort of research like that. I mean, he made just like a beeline to right to them. I'm like,
yeah,
okay, sure. Buddy's there, and they have a little chat. And of course, first the rest of the Mandalorians want nothing to do with him. But
right.
Mando makes his case, and I was reading online. I want to see what you think about the Mandalorian culture. And one reviewer was saying that the more he learns about the Mandalorian culture, like the less excited he feels. Feels like some of the mystery is kind of what enhances it. How do you feel about learning more about the Mandalorian culture?
I enjoy it. I really like it. I mean, because I do think it's like I like learning about the culture. I like learning about because they had so much infighting, like Civil War, and like they've had like there was a point where Darth Maul was the leader of the Mandalorians. Like it's like they do have this really interesting history. And then even Bo-Katan's sister, like Satine, like there was a time where she really wanted them to be more like pacifists and then not fight at all. And then it's interesting too, like there's so many different types of clans, and like they all follow this like creed, but kind of differently, right? Like they'll kind of like some things are more important to this tribe and some things are more important to that tribe. It's like we care about everything here except for the part where we can't take our masks off. And then this group over here is like, no, the most important thing is not taking the mask off. You know what I mean? It's like it's interesting to see how this huge culture, just these warriors, and they've had all these incredible, history of battling with the Jedi and stuff. And a lot of the weapons they use are directly because of like how the Jedi can use the Force. The Mandalorians have these, grappling cores that they can shoot out and then pull something to them. It's like they've got like little answers to some of the powers that like the Jedi have. They've sort of like adapted their way of fighting and stuff based on just fighting with the Jedi and stuff. And it's like I love diving into all of that history. I think it's really interesting. So they're just an interesting culture in Star Wars. I mean, it's
and for me, it's I don't know, when you think of like the Tusken Raiders and Boba Fett, where I was excited to learn more about their culture, and then they just got all killed, and that was it. We didn't really learn anything more. To be able to have this opportunity with the Mandalorian culture, for me, I'm still down to get more, steeped in that culture. I think there's some cool stuff to come out of that. That for me, it keeps me engaged. So,
I totally agree,
John, or else this would have had to end. We'd have just left it right here and just go.
Yeah.
But I do like how they because I know it's all about they take on lost causes, but it was interesting to see how the clan decides how that is going. So it was cool to see kind of the inner workings of that, where you get a hold onto the hammer and state your case, make your speech, make your pitch. And Mando does that, and everybody's like, okay, sure. But then your boy, was it Paz
Vizsla?
Yeah, he comes up and at first there's a little misdirect, because at first he's like, this is stupid, guys, what are we doing? Why are we getting involved in this? And then switcheroo and says, no, but we're Mandalorians, that's what we do.
I thought this was a great speech. I love this. And I had a feeling, because some Mando and Bo just helped save his son. So I had a feeling that like this was going to turn around, but like when it started off, I was a little bit like, oh, is he back to being a jerk again? Like, what's going on here? But and even Din's speech in that moment too, I thought was super interesting because like the foundlings are like, you know, in the episode where they save Paz's son, it's like you see the armorer telling Bo like you have achieved, you know, the highest honor of the creed by saving a foundling, and it's like now you have Din kind of talking about like, you know, our children deserve the chance to, you know, have a home and feel what it's like to play in the sunlight and this and that. And it's like what a very like deep thing that they're exploring here, like the needs of the children of the group, and like it's not just about us being soldiers; it's about us having like a home and a life. And then Paz steps up and gives this great speech of like, you know, like they saved my son. You know, Bo didn't give up on the life of my child, even when most of us did. And it's like, yeah, you're warriors and like you have to go and help these people now and fight off these pirates. But like, you also have to remember that you guys are like people, like, you know, like you can't just live in this cage, this cave with this on this planet with these scary, you know, big, stupid Star Wars monsters forever. It's like, get out of there, do your thing, be Mandalorians, but go get a home, go get yourself a home too. You know, like,
yeah, I mean, I felt like that's interesting, especially for a society that has been as decimated as the Mandalorians have been. I mean, like, I guess like any culture society that has gone through that, like, when do you say enough's enough and we're going to stop running and, you know, start fighting, you know, to have a home and be able to be someplace where, you know, we don't have to constantly look over our shoulder all the time.
Yeah. And I love that idea of like a lot of these Mandalorians had a, you know, a history on Navarro, but they were living in the sewers and now they get to go back as the heroes. You know, I love that whole thing too.
Yeah. Yeah. It was a nice way to be able to go back and kind of, give them a chance to be able to get their own plot of land. As Mando says to them, it's like, I was offered a plot of land, so this is a place that we could definitely, if he's going to give it to me, he can give it to all of us, and we could actually settle down here and start living a life again. Yeah. So they make their plans, and the plan is that Din will distract the fighter ships from the pirate ship while Bo comes in and drops all the pirates down in the city so they clear that out and then go help out destroy the big pirate ship. So what did you think of the whole retaking of Navarro?
I thought this was really cool because Mando has that like effect of like you know, they're so outnumbered, but it's like he's so good and like he has that effect of like, oh, the Mandalorian is here, like let's go get him, that like they're not even paying attention to anything else. These pirates were kind of a mess too. You know what I mean? Like, but like, and then just watching Mando just fly around, he's shooting these fighters down, he's making them collide into one another, he's just doing his thing. I thought it was so cool. And then watching the Mandalorians, you know, all of them kind of drop down into the city, and seeing like the Anzellans kind of nervous, but then they see the Mandalorians and they start cheering, and then those weird, you know, lizard monkey things in the tree, they're helping point to they're helping the Mandalorians out, like watch out over there. It was just, the whole thing was just very fun to me. I really enjoyed it.
No, that's true. You know, who would have thought that one of Jabba's like little pet lackeys would have that, somebody from his race would have that moment to shine, like point out there. Do their thing. No, that was cool that they were able to hold their own until they start getting some heavy fire from that Gatling gun up on the upper deck, and then your girl, the armorer just comes in and with her hammer and tongs she starts just whipping ass up there.
I really enjoyed her. Like, it was good to get to see her like just kicking ass with her forging tools again. You know what I mean? Like, she doesn't use a blaster. She doesn't use any kind of spear or anything like that. Just this hammer that she makes everybody's armor with. She just knocks people out with it. Yeah. Like, you know, it's like, it's just great.
I mean, she's got to be just like lean and just incredibly just strong for, you know, just swinging that hammer on a regular basis.
Yeah, that thing looks very heavy.
Yeah.
Very heavy.
Like when she chucks it across the room, I'm like, man, I know I couldn't throw it that far.
Right. Right.
I know it wouldn't go that far, or it might like make it to like and hit like his foot. It would never hit him in the face.
I don't know that I could lift it over my head enough to like even like I'd be doing like a sidearm throw. Like
but they were able to retake the city while Bo-Katan and Din take care of the other pirate ship and knock that down just in convenient time as Greek comes running up with the townsfolk like, don't you go anywhere, you remaining ground pirates.
Yeah. I really loved this pirate ship, by the way, though. This Corsair.
Yeah.
I thought it looked super cool. I thought it was really funny that it actually had like the steering wheel that a pirate ship might. It didn't look exactly the same, but the fact that it even had a wheel at all was just very funny to me. And then that Ugnaught pirate that was there literally looked like he could have been Smee in Peter Pan. Like,
yes,
like he actually looked like an Ugnaught in like a pirate Halloween costume from Earth.
I mean, so much for this this pirate ship. I mean, it's down for the count. So I mean, we say one of the guys, he takes off at the end of the episode realizing like, whoops, this isn't gonna go well. Yeah, I'm out, I'll see you later.
This guy, he's so lucky. This guy, he was the one doing all the trash talking about wanting to drink in the school in that first appearance. Yeah. Everyone else gets shot except for him. He runs off. Now everybody else, including Gorian Shard, is dead, and yet he just flies off. It's like, this is the luckiest guy in the world.
Yeah, I mean, it's all this happened because of him, because he was so fixated on that dang school. I want to drink at that school.
Yeah. And I can't stop thinking about like how drastic, like you as Gorian Shard, you allowed all of your men and yourself to die and your ship to be taken down, all because of 4 guys that got shot by Grief and Mando over wanting to drink at a school. Yeah. Seems like a really drastic response.
Yeah, you know, it was like, and part of me was like, boy, I don't know how it is. Like, you want? I guess you want to see Mando win, but on the other hand, it's like, well, these guys are treated pretty much like buffoons, even in the first episode of this season and this episode. You know, they all just, you know, a lot of them end up getting killed, and then, you know, the Mandalorians get away. And in this case, you know, everybody except for the one guy got killed, and Mandalorians come out triumphant. So
yeah. It does make me feel like the desperation of Gorian Shard to seemingly have to hold this city, though, makes me feel like there's more behind it. Like, they were there not just for like getting revenge on these 4 random pirates that didn't even have a line, you know, in the first episode. Like they were like that's why I feel like this whole thing with Carson Teva, his theory that this is somehow connected to Moff Gideon and some kind of, you know, piece of an Imperial remnant or something like that, makes it feel like, why would you allow your ship and your whole crew to be taken down over these 4 random dudes? Like, who cares? Yeah. You know what I mean? I feel like, so there's got to be like, there must have been some strategic reason. And then the whole thing with Elia Kane trying to get the New Republic to not send any help to them. It's like, what is the reason for all this? Like it makes me feel like Moff Gideon maybe has an interest in Navarro, that he needed to send somebody there to try to hold the city or hold the planet for him. I don't know.
I'm kind of bummed that there's just not somebody, a counter point to her on Coruscant that could be standing up to Elia Kane and be like, wait a minute, something's not up, and see some cat and mouse between the two of them. But it looks like right now the way they're portraying it is that everybody that's on Coruscant is just a big bunch of dummies, and Elia Kane is like able to just pull the strings as she needs.
Yeah, you're totally right. And that's why it was nice to, even though he's not there anymore, it was nice that while Carson Teva was there, that he was a little bit like, you're kind of sketchy. Yeah, like everything you said sounds kind of like Imperial. And then Tim Meadows like, you're out of line. It's like, are you sure? Like this, she's an Imperial. Like,
but I guess like the big part about this is probably the end of the episode and where this might take the remaining 3 episodes we have of the season. Is Grief says, hey, thank you for your great help. I know we've been enemies in the past, but you know, and I apologize for that. All is forgiven, and you were here in the sewers before, but now you have this huge plot of land. Please, you know, set roots here and be with us. Which is, you know, like, oh, hey, that's great. They got their land. But the armorer wants to speak to Bo, Bo-Katan, and they go down and they're back in the old forge that she was in season 1, and we get a continuation of the talk that I just thought they were gonna brush aside from last episode, where she's like, yes, that's great that you saw Mythosaur, this is the way, but the armor really took that to heart.
Yeah. There's been so many little curveballs in here, because like I never would have thought that Bo-Katan would have even told the armor that. I thought that was going to be a secret that Bo held on to, but she told the armor. The armor didn't really seem to, at the time, care or think anything of it. She thought maybe it was a vision or something, and then it made me feel like, well, maybe the armor is trying to sow some doubt in Bo because she doesn't want everyone to know that there's a Mythosaur. But now it seems like maybe the armor just needed some time to think on it, and I also feel like the armor has been put in a position with sort of Mando and Bo being back with the covert now, like where like I wonder if she's felt at all like, am I losing a little bit of power here? Bo leads that whole mission to save Paz's son, and now all of a sudden Paz is advocating that the whole covert go and fight alongside Mando and Bo. Is like, does the armor really want all this stuff to be happening? And then is this now a way for her to say, like, because that whole conversation of like, you saw the Mythosaur, I'm telling you to take off your helmet. You're only allowed to do it because I'm telling you can. Do you respect my station? It's like the way that like, it's like, is this a play to like kind of be like, hey, listen, I'm the one that said all this was okay, so I'm still really in charge. Like, like, I don't know. It's interesting. And it's because the whole thing too, it's like, I feel like Mando still has that Darksaber, like, the fact that like he even had to give that speech and then there was any doubt. I feel like in the past, if you had that Darksaber and you were the one wielding it, you used to be able to just whip it out and say, hey, we're going to Navarro. I have this thing, so I'm in charge. Like, so like, I don't know, between Mando having the Darksaber, Bo seeing the Mythosaur, and the things kind of changing for the covert. Like, I wonder if the armor has felt threatened at all and now needs to be like, I have to get ahead of this. So send Bo in here, you know what I mean? So I can talk to her and, just make sure she still respects my station, that kind of thing. Like, I don't know.
Yeah, that whole conversation was interesting because when she does say, take off your helmet, I mean, I was like, whoa, hold on a second. What is she just trying to get her to take it off and then say, you took it off, see, that was a test and now you're out. Yeah. Because I couldn't quite figure out, like, it was such a big thing that you never show your helmet, show your face, you never take your helmet off. So interesting. I did not realize that you could play, the armorer could play fast and loose with the what the creed it entails for them. I was like, oh no, you can take it off if I say it's okay. Then it's all right for you to take it off.
Right. There was a small part of me too, though, that I was like, because then the armor starts going into all, we all need to be united Mandalorians, even if we don't all agree on everything, like we have to stick together, we have to fight together, blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, are we about to see Emily Swallow's face right now? Is the armor going to take off her helmet?
I really thought that was going to happen too.
Yeah. I still think it could come. I do think it could come at some point.
Because it feels, as the more that she talked, I thought it was interesting because, hear Bo-Katan talk about the fall of Mandalore and how all these different factions were warring against each other. Each all, as you were saying earlier, had believed in different parts more of the creed than others did. But then also, seeing how stringent that the armor was with Din when she found out he took off his helmet. And like, that's it, you're gone. And the only way you can do it is by bathing in the waters of Mandalore. Good luck with that. So thinking like, oh, it's all cursed. So she was just, I feel like she's realizing that she's got to adapt as well too.
Yeah.
I feel like, so I'll be curious to see what happens with her for the rest of the season. And by allowing Bo to be able to walk in both worlds, like that's my special dispensation. She can take her helmet off. None of you other chumps can.
Right.
One interesting, because I guess does the armor think that the only way that Bo could be credible with other factions is by being able to take her helmet off at some points, and so it's going to be necessary?
I think so, because like, think about like that first appearance of Bo-Katan, right? When the Night Owls are there and they take off their helmets and Din is like, whoa, you're not Mandalorian. So, and then they were being like, the Night Owl's response to that was like, oh, he's one of them. He's in a cult. He's in the Children of the Watch. It's like, I wouldn't be surprised if that belief of like the Children of the Watch, they're a cult. I wouldn't be surprised if a lot of other Mandalorian tribes had that same feeling of like, what are you guys doing? You don't take your helmets off? Like,
yeah. You guys have to decide who can sit by the campfire while the others have to just go find a dark place in the forest and lift off their helmet.
Right. So maybe if Bo goes to these other tribes and refuses to take her helmet off, they'll just think of her as this cult member that we don't want anything to do with.
No, that's true. I don't know how you felt about that, but in that moment where the armorer says like, hey, it's up to you. You're the person that can bring all these factions together. For me, I felt like this seems like a shift in a sense where it's no longer just Din's story anymore. Like for in a way, I could see like Din just being done as a main character and him just being just there as needed. I don't know. It felt like I could see them wanting to go that direction. If you turn it into more into the Bo-Katan show, like she seems like somebody that has like a lead of a series kind of challenge and obstacle and goal to get. While Din right now, he's gotten everything. He's back with the the Children of the Watch. He's got Grogu with him. I mean, there's not much. I mean, other than the Darksaber stuff, there's not really much going on with him.
Yeah, I agree. It's funny because I feel like everybody refers to to Din as the Mandalorian, and like even when I have the subtitles on, when Din speaks, it actually says the Mandalorian and then his lines next to it, and it's like, but it does feel like one of those things that it's like, yeah, like so many episode titles, it feels like even the title of the show is like has multiple meanings, like Bo-Katan is the Mandalorian. Like Bo-Katan is one of the most well-known, well-liked Mandalorians in the Star Wars universe. There's questions about is Grogu the Mandalorian? People have said like, is Bo gonna ride the Mythosaur, or is Din gonna ride the Mythosaur? Is Grogu gonna ride it? We've seen him taming all these beasts in the past, right? So it's like, or like I feel like you could almost call, there's so many characters like that on a week-to-week basis, depending on what's going on in the story, like they're the Mandalorian. And I almost think it fits with that narrative of like, they don't take their helmets off because you're not supposed to know, you're not supposed to see their faces, and they're not supposed to have individual identities. It's just, this is the Mandalorian way. It's the way of the Mandalore. It's like, yeah, but I don't know. It's interesting.
Yeah. I would be, I mean, we know we talked about this a little last week too, but I mean, I'd be absolutely down for a Bo-Katan series, or if they wanted to just kind of pass the reins to her within the Mandalorian and follow her for several seasons, with Din kind of showing up to help out now and then until there was like a story worthy of Din, and then you shift the focus back to them. I think that's an interesting way of being able to keep that series going, but not always have to have it, Din focused.
Yeah. Well, I totally agree.
So yeah, yeah, because especially at the end where, she brings the armor, brings out Bo in front of everybody. It's like, she took off her helmet. Even Paz like, but she took her helmet off, and the armor's like, no, she can walk in both worlds. And I see like, I mean, it's Bo and Din making some eye contact there, and even Paz and Din make eye contact, and he's like, yeah, this is cool, Paz. Chill out. Let's roll with this. Yeah, but it's like, that was such a big thing for Mando to get this helmet back on and be part of this, that it's like, yeah, in that moment, that's when I really felt like, boy, I feel like you're just passing over, the reins of being the lead of this series over to Bo-Katan at this point.
Yeah. Yeah. I wonder if the like the sudden willingness of the armorer too, to just say that, Bo-Katan can walk in both worlds. She can take her helmet off. I wonder if part of that is because now they know that, like, once you finish your task, the task that I'm assigning you of bringing all these other Mandalorians in from exile and bringing them to us on Navarro, you can always just go back to Mandalore and go back to the living waters. You already did it with Din, so just go for another swim. Like I wonder if that's part of it too now, where it's like, all right, well, it's not as serious of an offense to take your helmet off now, because it is still possible to go and bathe in the living waters and redeem yourself. We've learned that now from Din. So I don't know, or maybe just the ways of the covert will shift, and now it will slowly become increasingly, more acceptable to take your helmet off once in a while.
And it wasn't, and there was also part of I was like, boy, we're not going to even take a breath here on Navarro, because it was all about like, hey, Grief is like, you've got all this land. And by the end of the episode, just minutes later, the armor was like, we're retaking Mandalore. We don't, who cares about this place? We're going,
Right.
we're just getting all these Mandalorians to come back with us, and we're heading back home to Mandalore. So like,
Yeah.
oh, I guess we're not hanging out in Navarro for a while. No, okay, just checking. All right.
It makes me feel. It makes, and I don't think that it'll be this season. Like, because I feel like, especially with the way this episode ended, that Gideon is going to end up being like the big bad of this season. But I feel like this now sets it up where Bo is going to be recruiting all these Mandalorians to come back and come out of exile, come back into the light, build our numbers, and then maybe it's going to set up like next season a big Mandalorian versus Thrawn, war. That's something that I've been wondering.
That's a good call. And I mean, I guess the interesting thing that with Bo is, I mean, certainly the people that were following her left because she didn't have the Darksaber. So it is going to be interesting to see her trying to recruit these other factions to come back. And it seems like for these other clans, having that Darksaber is super important if you want to get people to follow you.
Yeah.
So I don't know how successful some of her recruiting will be. If they're like, well, do you got the Darksaber? No. See you later. Come back to us when you got a Darksaber, and then maybe we'll think about rejoining you and your clan.
Right. Yeah, it'll be interesting to see. It definitely will. I wonder, like, is Boba Fett going to show up? Is Boba Fett going to be part of this? Yeah.
I mean, why not? Let's do it. But we also end the episode with Teba heading back home and a really kind of slow cruise, just just chilling, kind of just relaxing through the as he's flying through some part of the Outer Rim. It comes across an Imperial shuttle that's been partially destroyed, and finds out that indeed this was the shuttle that Moff Gideon was on. And after, I did like the little bit of business, just the details of the probe by the astromech droid sending out that. I was like, oh, that's cool. I hadn't seen that depicted yet. And I don't think I've seen it in an animated, like in Clone Wars.
Yeah, I think I think you're right. I think that's the first time that we've seen that kind of thing.
Yeah,
it was cool.
Yeah. I have to admit that the whole time I'm watching this scene, though, I'm thinking like, please don't somebody come out of hyperspace and kill him. That's what I was waiting to see. Somebody who's going to surprise him and kill him.
Right.
So it was like, okay, good. All right.
It's interesting. So they find all the bodies of the crew, right? But no Moff Gideon. And then they mention that there's the little piece of Beskar in there. Have you seen some of like the theories that people have about this? What it might be online?
I haven't, because I'm going to guess it's either one of the other clans or it's a plant to throw suspicion on them.
Right, because there were like three different theories that I was seeing out there. One was that maybe because there was a group, after Maul took over on Mandalore, that became really kind of like known as like the Mandalorians, that were like, so maybe, and they became loyal to the Empire. So maybe it was this group that broke Gideon out of there. I've also seen a theory that maybe, Gideon obviously had access to Beskar, and like that's what the client was paying Mando with to go get Grogu. So like these Imperial remnants from the whole, when they just absolutely obliterated Mandalore, like they had all this access to Beskar. So maybe he planted it there to try to frame, a group of Mandalorians. But then also a theory that I've seen out there, and it's just interesting because we know that some of these Star Wars rebels are coming. These characters are coming. Yes, definitely in Ahsoka anyway. Like we got Zeb, a member of the Star Wars Rebels Ghost Crew, in this episode, totally unexpected. And there are some people that are wondering if maybe this could have been that crew, maybe Ahsoka and Hera Syndulla, Ezra Bridger maybe, and then, or maybe not yet Ezra, because I think they're still trying to find him, but Sabine Wren. Now, Sabine Wren is a Mandalorian, and they were saying maybe this Ghost Crew came in and actually extracted Moff Gideon to try to get information about where Thrawn is. And maybe like in the scuffle of it, little piece of Beskar, armor came off and just got left in the ship there. I don't see that crew though leaving behind a bunch of dead New Republic people, but it was an interesting theory anyway.
I mean, it would definitely make me think less of them if I find out that like, oh no, and then they were cool just killing, some New Republic people. Just that's cool.
Yeah.
I also, I'm glad that Tempo found out about this and his transmission was able to get back to the New Republic, because it's like I finally want people to start waking up. People are like, oh, like, because nobody really seems like caring that Moff Gideon like might be missing. Nobody knows if he reached his destination. Nobody, like, everybody's like, not like, I don't know, maybe he's lost, maybe he got there, I don't know.
right
It's
like oh, it's crazy because when Carson was talking to the other guy, right, when he called somebody over the comms, they were like figuring out this was Moff Gideon's ship, but I think that guy actually told Carson, he's like, oh yeah, this whole whatever happened here, but it's been classified or made confidential or something.
Yeah.
It's like, so the New Republic, did they screw this up and they just don't want anybody to find out about it? Like,
or
like another
that Elia Kane got a hold of and she classified the record so nobody would know.
Right. They have all these Imperials walking around. It reminds me of, Hydra infiltrating Shield and taking it down. That's what this reminds me of. We've allowed a bunch of these people from the Empire into this amnesty program, and they're for some reason. Listen, I get the idea of like, because the Empire took a lot of people in who had no choice, and then after that, like, not all those people should, they have to be punished, but it's like, why is Elia Kane coming into this guy's office and making decisions on who should be helped or not helped or whatever? Like,
yeah,
it's a little
too recent from your liberation to all of a sudden be calling the shots on New Republic policy.
Yeah, especially when your big line of advice that you come in with is, well, maybe they have to suffer so that they see the value of being in the New Republic. It's like, that is literally the Empire.
Like, whoa, hold on a second. What are you doing? So yeah, we definitely have some mysteries awaiting us in these last 3 episodes. Yeah, I mean, and who knows if the Darksaber is even going to come into play this season. The way it's going, I don't know. On one hand, I could see it easily going into next season, but also Jon Favreau could surprise me, and by the end of the season, it comes into play in a major way. Who knows?
Yeah.
He definitely keeps everybody on their toes with the way he kind of paces out each episode as well as the whole season.
Right. It's been a very interesting season. I've really enjoyed it. I can't wait. It feels like every episode something gets checked off the list that I wasn't expecting to be checked off that quickly. Like the pirates are done.
Yep.
They're all dead. So like, we get 3 episodes, and the last thing that we saw in this was a hint that Moff Gideon is out there somewhere. So I would love to now get a 3-episode arc of just, the Mandalorian and their whole crew and what's going on with Moff Gideon. If you want to sprinkle a little bit of a hint of Thrawn in there somewhere, I wouldn't mind. But I have a feeling they're setting up the showdown to be, Mando and their whole covert against Moff Gideon again. That's what I think.
That'll be cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, and we'll just watch Grogu just doing his lame little walk. And
I think he's going to talk, though. I think he's going to talk by the end of the season.
We can only hope. Well, John, I think that's going to do it for this episode of the Mandalorian Aftershow here on JLJ Media. Well done, sir.
Same to you. Well done.
No. This is all made possible by our benevolent host with the most, James Lott Jr., who gives us this incredible platform on JLJ Media to do all these great after shows. So make sure you check out JLJ Media for all this great content, whether it's soap operas, it's a variety of different Star Wars after shows. We've done Book of Boba Fett. We've done previous seasons of The Mandalorian. We've done Obi-Wan. We're going to do Ahsoka, Skeleton Crew when that comes along as well too. So check out JLJ Media for all that.
We've done it all. We've done it all, bitches.
Andor.
Everything. We've done
Yes.
Andor. Yes, we're gonna do. Also, Acolyte's coming out. I want to do Acolyte. We have a lot we want to do. Frank, you are a prince among men.
No, not at all. Not at all.
yeah.
No.
Prince among men. Anyway, your ending. Sorry, your ending.
Oh, no. Oh, well, thank you. But as always, folks, if you want to stay in touch with any of us, even after the show's over, John Dunphy, where can they find you?
You can find me at jdun89. That's where I am on Twitter, Instagram, places like that. I like to post music and all that kind of stuff and fun opinions on competitive reality TV and all that. So check it out.
But wait, what if they wanted to hear something just specifically about competitive reality shows?
Oh, well, in that case, you could check out @StratChatPod on Twitter and Instagram. Yeah, Strat Chat, like strategy chat, Strat Chat, one word, pod. We talk about Survivor, Big Brother. We're doing Big Brother Canada. We just finished Australian Survivor, and we're doing Survivor 44 now also, and the Challenge World Championship. So always a lot of stuff going on.
Yes, I am 5 episodes into Traders UK, and that cast drives me crazy. They're the worst. That cast is the worst. Oh my gosh, they are just so easily riled up, so quick to spin out of control, so quick to just mob up on somebody. It's so irritating.
I love the Traders.
Yeah, love the series, but boy, that Hannah Chippy, she can go. So, folks, you can follow me on Twitter and Instagram @HappyGoJackie. And you can find James Lott Jr. where all James Lott Jr.'s are sold at JLJ Media, at James Lott Jr.
Or James Lott Jr. or fucking Wine on Me Spotlight, GH Me Spotlight. Anyway, just where all James Jr. sold at James Lott Jr. on all social media platforms. Come on, Frank, you heard it 8 years. Come on, pull it together.
Yeah, but I've never had to say your social media handle.
And you knew Alexis Torres. That's where I got it from. Alexis Torres, 890.
There you go. Folks, thanks for joining us for this episode of the Mandalorian After Show. We'll be back next Wednesday night with an all-new episode right here on JLJ Media. Until then, may the force be with you.